Hey, you. So I heard you like being called names. Something about them scholars. We don't do that around these parts. Huh. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. Anyways, back to the full screen. Just to piss off the people that keep telling me to clean my room. Go after yourself. There it is. And it's messy mess. I'm probably going to do it in the summer. Literally because I actually do want to decorate it, make it look nicer, and put some. I would like to put the posters in the background too, just so everyone's clear. No, I do not plan on fixing the camera at this moment. I no, mostly because the monitor's right there, adjusting it. Nah. Right now, I'm the side piece. I want this to be the main sleigh background. The nerdiness. That's what's happening. Yes, this is the intro. Suck it, nerds. Suck it, nerds. You can take it, nerds. Anyways, talking about nerds, we're talking about Datto. Yes, we're talking about I was gonna say Diddy Datto, but that you don't want to use that. I was just trying to be funny off the name. I didn't mean to. Anyways, moving on. This video is about some exotic changes that happened, and most of these I have not interacted with at all. Mostly because they're minuscule, pointless, or they just aren't meta. And that's kind of where we're at this point. And I think it should be noted that majority of the changes that they've done, I think there may be some I might have forgotten, outside of Lord of Wolves, which is bugged, and Queenbreaker, which is probably the #1 change that was like worth anything. Yes, there's D.A.R.C.I, but he's probably going to talk about it. I don't know. D.A.R.C.I really isn't all that's cracked up to be, but that's just my opinion. We'll get to it when we get to it, if he gets to it. It's 14 minutes. We'll see what, there's a bunch of exotics that got changed and I completely forgot. Outside of that, we're going to jump in.
For the past few seasons and episodes, I've been doing a video going over all of the exotic weapon
Telesto
changes that happened with the launch of a season or episode, whatever. And I definitely think there are some buffs that people should know about, although I know I am a little late on this one. I'm not going to heavily discuss every weapon that got adjusted here because some of them are very minor, like Centrifuse, which had its magazine size increased to 45.
Wow. Bungie's out here really buffing guns. They're out here doing the Lord's work with this buff. They thought, you know what, hey guys, we heard you. Some of these exotics need buffs. Here's your primary weapon. It's got more ammo now. I'd be more impressive as a hand cannon with 45 in the mag.
I think Centrifuge is fine.
It's fine.
A mid-tier weapon.
It is very mid.
I don't see this buff pushing it over the edge into the high tier or anything like that.
I think most people who use Centrifuge have used it in PvP. It is a very mid weapon. It's cool, but I'm not going to be taking it into a contest mode.
Something that did get a bigger buff was the Colony, with detonation damage going up by 40%, making it much more on par with legendary drum grenade launchers.
I'm going to be honest with you. They can give this thing 100% damage, and unless it's doing more than a bait and switch kill clip legendary, ain't no one give a shiitake about Colony. The fact that we're even considering a conversation about it is hilarious. I'm sorry. Colony has been power crept to the moon, literally. It's not even good in PvP. That's the thing. It is so easy to avoid unless they change it to where the little robot assholes get thrusters that can literally jump and Spider-Man swing at you. No one's using the Colony. The Colony is RIP in the grave.
They also adjusted how many bonus bots are going to spawn when you kill something, with minors now dropping 2, majors 3, and champions and higher 6.
I'm going to say it needs to be removed from kill. It needs to be based on impact, like cluster bombs, but it'd be cluster bombs for the spider bots. Getting a hit would automatically proc it, and then maybe based on how much damage based on the enemy that you fight, how many of the little insectoids are spawned by hit, maybe then we might be talking. But if this does less damage than a legendary bait and switch or even explosive light or even frenzy, why would I ever care about this?
Does this buff turn the colony
Look at
into
that
a
damage.
DPS
Look at that
monster over
damage.
the premier legendary GLs of today? No. No, it does not. Although,
And if someone comments in the video, but it's good for ad clear, I'm going to judge you that you're using an exotic slot on a heavy for ad clear. I'm judging you.
it does technically do better than a completely unbuffed legendary grenade launcher. On this Lost Sector boss, it dealt over 45,000 damage on a direct hit.
Can we do like maybe like I know maybe it doesn't matter too much, but I personally don't give a crap about basic public event stuff. At least do an expert mode something. Expert Lost Sector. Like, can we at least do something that isn't the most generic ass environment area? Like, take it, do a test on actual challenging content, because that's what people care about. No one cares about public sectors. People want to know, if I take this into a Legend Lost Sector or a Master Lost Sector, can I get away with using it?
While one of the best legendary GLs in the game dealt around 40,000 damage. And it can deal that damage with a shot fired into the ground, where the shot transforms into a bug and then runs up to the enemy. But that's without triggering things like Envious Arsenal or Bait and Switch on the legendary, which then launches it far ahead of the colony in pretty much every sense of the word. The main thing is now the colony has damage that is at least within the same universe as some other grenade launchers on offer, but I can't imagine it finding its way into any serious loadout. D.A.R.C.I got the Gjallarhorn treatment, where you buff other legendary sniper.
15%. Listen, they cooked with Praetus. That is probably the best sniper in the game. Like, it is the best sniper in the game. And I still don't think I would care about having D.A.R.C.I apply a giving it frenzy on top of it. Like, or well, this is frenzy on its own, but I don't know, like, how much is it? 25%? 17%? It's not like that massive. It's not going, in my personal experience, and I know hotness right now is going to be like LFRs and fusion rifles because it's a particle decon, but take that away, I still don't know how competitive we're going to get a sniper meta, especially when you have snipers like Whisper of the Worm. Like, am I really going to focus on that when one of the biggest things is blowing your load with your Praetus or something, or after you blow your load of your heavy like rocket launcher? You know, I don't know.
Users, although D.A.R.C.I also gets this buff. This is awesome for D.A.R.C.I, which has not been relevant in a very long time.
I think this was a good change. It does give relevance. And it does, if it's one of those like, okay, no one has heavy, I've got heavy, I'm going to put D.A.R.C.I, I'm going to activate it, and you guys just go ham with your special snipers to, you know what, pop off. I don't know if the damage would be better than 6 outbreaks, but maybe. Who knows? In a world where you have no heavy ammo except for one dude who can throw on a D.A.R.C.I and boost everyone up, who knows?
The only unfortunate thing for D.A.R.C.I is that we're not really in a legendary sniper meta for boss damage right now. Not only that, but considering how many people likely have Whisper of the Worm with the Catalyst, and considering how dominant that weapon can be, I am a little skeptical of entering any sort of a D.A.R.C.I legendary sniper DPS meta unless the stars align or a boss comes along where snipers are the absolute best option.
I doubt it.
We might have been able to have something like the Zoetic Lock set in Sundered Doctrine be that, but crit damage is literally not working on this boss, and it's unknown if or when it'll be fixed. When we enter a potential world where D.A.R.C.I sniping is considered a mainstream setup, we'll talk more about it then.
Saving money.
I don't appreciate getting my ads. I use Bing to escape this, but I think YouTube patched this. They patched it.
Fundamentals weapons, aka Dead Messenger, Hardlight, and Borealis, all got adjusted to now get a 30% damage buff in PvE when you apply or receive an elemental.
I think Dead Messenger getting a 30% buff on it was already doing pretty good damage. I mean, sure. I don't see anyone using Dead Messenger. I've yet to see anyone use Waveframe GLs at all. I'm going to be honest. Most people have moved on to sidearm rockets. Like that's the go-to meta, even with the nurse. Sidearm rockets and the utility, especially the new one with destabilizing rounds. And then you also, Lotus Eater. The only reason I remember that is because of Warframe. And then before that, we have Tanasha's Mastery for Chill Clip and the utility of that. Like, if I'm going to use a special weapon, I'm going to probably use those. Dead Messenger with a 30% sounds nasty. Who's using Borealis? I lol that one dude in PvP, I guess. And then Hard Light. I will judge you if you're using an exotic auto rifle in its Hard Light, just because it gives you the equivalent of One for All, which I'm pretty sure we have auto rifles that have One for All or some kind of equivalency. So please, for the love of God, don't be using these because, like, oh God, 30% buff. Like, I think, and here's my honest opinion, the fundamentals should give you the key synergy based on the element. If you're arc, you get jolting feedback. Your void, destabilizer rounds. Solar, you get incandescent. First off, Dead Messenger, that sounds disgusting. Hard Light, I actually consider it. Borealis, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm not going to really use it for ad clear. And, arc, yeah, maybe, jolting feedback. Shooting a champion gives you another option to use for overloads. If you have a free spot, maybe considering. But I just, damage is not the problem. It's the use of it. Like, cool, I can hit. These guns shined in a world where elemental damage was necessary, and that it took so much more damage to kill a shield that you didn't match. Like, match game was massive using these, but we don't have to worry about that world anymore. And so being able to switch to elements, no one cares unless you're trying to use it for some cheeky elemental honing plays for like your Hazen's Vengeance. Maybe. I don't know how realistic that is when you could just run prismatic and it just happens naturally. We live in a world where these guns are just not useful. Dead Messenger is good, but they're just not useful.
Keyword that matches the currently selected element on the weapon. So if you're on arc and you apply jolt or you get amplify or something like that and your weapon is on arc, well, that's a 30% damage bonus.
Wow.
Borealis also had its stats boosted so that you wouldn't be forced onto Void for PvP related reasons. The buff lasts 10 seconds, it can be refreshed, and 30% is one of the best damage bonuses in the game. And if you play your cards right and set your build up correctly, you can have this buff active on a near permanent basis, even on something like Hard Light, which for all intents and purposes is just an auto rifle without that much else going on.
Yep.
If you have the fundamentals procced, you are going to be doing just under 50% more damage, 5-0, than a legendary 600 RPM auto that does not have any buffs rolling. That's pretty significant. I don't know if I'm as big of a fan of this on Borealis or Dead Messenger because they're special weapons and the fundamentals just kind of feels like a primary style weapon buff, or at the least it feels like a buff that you would want to proc with a primary weapon. But I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to roll around with Dead Messenger or Borealis in the case of activating the fundamentals or something like that. I would have a bigger issue with you using them because I just don't think they're that great in general. I rarely see these weapons out in the wild, and that tends to be a great indicator of their popularity and thus their strength.
Absolutely.
I don't think these weapons are that bad, especially now with this buff.
They're not bad, they're just not good, right? They're usable. But when you use a gun and you stop to think, could I just be using something that's better? Then they're bad. And there's always but what about fun? What is fun? What does swapping elements have to do with fun?
But I'm not.
If it had key like synergy, like giving it jolts and incandescent and destabilizing, that's a different story.
Sure how high up the tier list they really go for me. The buff does give you a new way to interact with these weapons, though, in a more modern way, and gives them some more juice to actually be somewhat viable. Delicate Tomb, on the other hand, might be my...
Before he says anything, I have heard a lot of good things about this. I've never liked Delicate Tomb, and I'm wondering, I'm kind of waiting to really kind of use it after deconstruction goes away, because I do think it's over bloating some of the damage on it. However, the synergy that it has with Warlock, I've just heard insane. In fact, if you're not running Delicate Tomb, every time someone sees you using a Warlock with Geomags, their first comment is, "You're not using the build correctly." Bitch! What?
My favorite weapon of episode 3. If you watched the Arc Warlock video, you will have already heard my feedback on this.
I played the Arc. It's good.
It's actually berserk now. Chance to generate ionic traces from miners increased by more than double. It's 4 to 10%. The PvE damage bonus on Tempest Cascade is now 100%, up from 30, and the timer is gone, so you can stow the shot indefinitely. This is an Arc Warlock's dream weapon, and by extension, any other setup that can generate a lot of ionic traces, although that's mainly Warlock territory. I have nothing but good to say about this weapon, provided you're using it in a setup that will enable its success.
Well, yeah.
If you have not used this thing in a while, which I'm guessing is basically everyone watching this video.
He's also not using decon, by the way.
You absolutely should, especially while Arc Warlock continues to be insane with Geomag stabilizers. Something on Arc Warlock will get nerfed eventually.
If I'm going to be honest, what's going to get nerfed on Warlock is 100% going to be the super generation. I don't think anything else is overly broken, in my opinion. I just don't think it is. Everything else about it is fine. I do absolutely believe that the super generation is definitely going to get nerfed.
Yes, particle reconstruction is helping a bit, and yes, this episode's artifact is helping a bit too. So at the very least, use it during this episode while things are nuts. Staying on fusions, Lorentz Driver got a pretty...
I'm sorry. If I'm going to use a weapon that's a special LFR, I'm going to use Arbalest for the anti-champ. But we have power crept these guns that even Arbalest has no real point or value. In fact, I would rather use Wishender before I use Arbalest now. Because again, it used to be really important. People would use Arbalest to kill the different shields, the different elemental shields, because they were hard to kill. Now you don't even have to worry about that. Like, different elemental shields aren't that big of a deal. Like, it does take a little bit more, but not that much. Like, it really, really don't be that hard. And with Prismatic, you can hit multiple elements. So Lorentz Driver has this hunt mechanic, but it ain't. It's like I just, people would rather use sidearm rockets, right? We're at that point. Or if I'm going to use a special weapon, I'm going to use Choir of One, which I have not used because of how so much heat we've got right now. Like, Choir 1 is still amazing, and it benefits from the artifact mods right now, but there are so many good options that benefit from Bolt Charge that everyone is hyper-focused on that, which is, it feels bad. I feel like some of the Void stuff is getting slept on because of how good Arc is right now.
Slight buff, where picking up the telemetry patterns from killing a marked target gives 1 ammo, and picking up 3 without dying gives you 6 ammo. Not sure how much this is going to move the needle for people, but it's some nice passive ammo incoming every so often.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Fourth Horseman seemingly out of nowhere got nerfed, reduced the rate of fire slightly, and returns ammo from reserves to the magazine per kill. I don't really know what this was spurred from, but the Fourth Horseman will continue to be a niche pick. Acrius got some adjustments.
When he's saying niche pick, what he's meaning is it's only going to be used by the 1% of the community who knows how to use this gun appropriately for damage rotations. And we're at the point where damage rotations aren't even nearly as useful anymore. Like, when we're talking about rotations, we're talking about swapping different maybe mods or exotics But when it comes to like weapons, you're talking about a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. Like if you're doing solo Nezarec, like those weapon swaps. But 9 out of 10 times they're not using the Fourth Horseman. But the people who do use them for very, very specific situations are not happy about this change. I don't think it's going to make anyone actually use it more. Mostly because it is a type of weapon that has no real niche currently. Because again, shotguns, 1, are not meant for ad clear, and 2, most content where you're barrel stuffing someone outside of PvP, either if you're not killing them instantly, you're dying, and if you could get up close without dying, most likely you're using your abilities to spam concentration or your Arc Warlock, dashing, or whatever. Personally, Fourth Horseman is power crept and needs something. Give it like jolting feedback for every hit or something. I don't know. It needs some love.
To be a niche pick. Acrius got some adjustments as well, but I don't think it really does that much to the weapon. When it's a good pick, it tends to be an insanely good pick, and when it's not a good pick, it tends to be an insanely not good pick. Almost regardless of what Bungie chooses to do to the
Legend Acrius lives and breathes by encounter. Like if you want to use this in an Arc weekend on Crota, you could use it on Crota. A lot of people did. Most people would opt out to use big quests with Surrounded, right? Because you're getting so much more damage. But you could get away with using Legend Acrius. When there's like a champ modifier for shotguns, you could get away with Acrius. Acrius is not bad, but it's not good. If I were to give a big brain, no shot they will ever do it, what they need to do is turn this into an actual like Cabal weapon where it has 100 range. It has a projectile. When you pull the trigger, it shoots the shotgun across the map. That is what causes this gun to be usable in like most cases. And sure, you're not going to get trench barrel activated like that, but then you could use your throwing knives or melee or whatever, or punch an enemy that's near you and then shoot from across the map. Like I'm saying, treat it like how some of the Cabal have their guns and they're like blasting you from across the map. This needs the same treatment. Give me a big arc blast from the shotgun. Give me my big boomstick. But we all know Bungie won't do that.
This weapon. Lord of Wolves is
broken.
Completely busted. It's broken. Like, it's not supposed to be working the way that it's working right now. It is absolutely destroying bosses where it is possible to be used, and all you need to do is just hold down the trigger and hip fire.
You don't even need the catalyst.
I'm not sure on the timeline of it being fixed, so right now it's one of those enjoy it while it lasts kind of weapons. I wouldn't use it for everything, but there are Templar farming groups who are going crazy with this thing, and I'm sure that's not all. We can give it...
Currently, as I'm recording this week, people are farming not... Like, it's hard to find Master any other challenge encounter, but so many people are farming Templar, even like Master. And even if you don't know how to do Atheon, if you want one of the best hand cannons in the game, Adept, just literally have either a well or a Thunder Crash or a Golden Gun or whatever, and in Lord of Wolves, and you can join any group, and all you have to do is aim, hit fire. No, don't aim, hit fire. Just like aim in the direction, hit fire at the face of the Templar, and that's all you gotta do. Anyone could do this farm if you have Lord of Wolves. Like, anyone.
Give it another look whenever it gets adjusted back to normal, if I think we need to discuss it. The Queenbreaker is one of the best single-target weapons in the game right now.
Queenbreaker, it is insane how good it is. And the goodness of it will drop after artifact mods go away. And it would have shined in the contest mode Sunder Doctrine if it wasn't for the bug that is yet to be fixed for the Shrieker crit damage, but it was absolutely used to kill and murder the final boss, the two-phase the final boss. He was a joke. Queenbreaker is
I think, in a perfect place. I don't think they ever need to buff it. I don't think they need to change anything. I think it is fantastic. It is usable. It has a beautiful catalyst. It is mwah. This is how you bring something up without making it overly like broken, because if it was broken, everyone would be using it over every other option. But it is a fantastic gun, and I never thought we would be in Destiny 2 like so many years later, like even Destiny 1, which Queenbreaker wasn't even like overly like powerful. It wasn't like, oh, you gotta have it, you gotta use it for DPS. It is crazy that it took this long, and we are in a place where Queenbreaker, unironically having it and using it, isn't gonna make you seem like a thrower of the party.
Although particle reconstruction is certainly helping that case. The catalyst being rewind rounds means you only need to reload one time to use all of your ammo. The 3 burst option on the weapon is incredibly strong, and also is one of the easier weapons to control, in my opinion. I have historically disliked 3 burst linears for their slight inconsistencies, but Queenbreaker has been very easy to use for me. Or maybe it's just that I've gotten a lot of practice on it recently, and it actually hasn't really been that bad in the first place. Either way, this is another weapon that if you're not already using it for your single target needs, at least in this episode, you should be. We talked about this weapon already in a recent video. So
I mean, almost 2 mil, he didn't use a super. And if you're on well as like a warlock, you're getting that 25% increase in damage. You also could throw like a, debuff, like a grenade or some kind of weakened situation that would up your damage. Like you could easily 2-phase solo with Queenbreaker if the right setup. And not including artifact mods. Obviously, decon helps.
So I'm going to keep this one
I don't know
brief.
if he was using decon.
I just did a video on Barrow-Dyad comparing it to Quicksilver, and I actually forgot that Bungie did actually roll back some of the nerf that Quicksilver received a little while ago, although not by a ton or anything. I still think Quicksilver is an excellent weapon overall, but I have fell off the wagon mainly due to weapon fatigue.
Yeah, 15k in kills. Holy crap. I have a couple 15k. I have a 17k on my Fatebringer, which I've yet to destroy. Like, it's hard to me to click delete on that bad boy, even though it's been replaced with the one I currently have. But my God, you love the gun when you have this many kills on it.
There are very few weapons that I use for a super long time. Sometimes something better comes along, or I just want to change things up because I'm bored, or maybe the artifact or build of the week was supporting it a bit more than usual. Quicksilver is pretty much that exact case. It's still a great weapon, but I think there's some other stuff to use now, especially in a prismatic sandbox, and after using it for basically a year straight, I just got a little tired of it. Telesto got some rather significant changes.
I don't have much to say. I used it. I thought it was fine. It was definitely very strong when it was out. You could use it, and it felt like it was a special weapon along with a primary weapon. I don't know how good it is now, but it got several nerfs that really dropped it down. I mean, Bungie is notorious for killing primary exotics, and that no one really uses anymore. Like, you just don't see people use them anymore. There's always going to be that one dude saying, I do, but if you look like the overall percentage of the community, most people don't use Quicksilver anymore.
Its main perk and catalyst, Harbinger's Pulse.
Wow.
It used to
I've seen this. Oh, God, what a
refill both your
screen.
kinetic and Telesto from...
I'm going to say right now, Telesto is cool. It's not good. And it's only gotten better because of Decon, the mod. But it's not good. Like, why would I would rather use any other fusion rifle. I would rather use the new seasonal fusion rifle Discord destabilizing rounds to add clear than use an exotic.
Reserves on multi-kill. It's now just Telesto, but it triggers on any void kill, not just Telesto. The kill requirement to proc it is now 3 up from 2, but Telesto kills count as double, so it's just harder to make happen with non-Telesto kills. And the multi-kill timer increased from 2 to 4.5 seconds, so you have longer to make it happen. All that jargon being said, I am still finding multi-kill procs to be annoying when actually using Telesto. I've just been mowing things down with corrective measure for more reliability.
No, I don't want your kawaii. No one cares about your bubble trash.
None of that sounds exciting. It probably just sounded like word vomit. But then we get to the catalyst, Harbinger's Vestiges, where after you activate Harbinger's Pulse 3 times, and the game will tell you when you have Telesto out, you can special reload Telesto to rain down projectiles on your next direct hit. I hit up my resident Telesto expert, aka my friend who thought the buff was funny and wanted to try it out, and they've been enjoying it. They employ the use of the artifact plus multiple weapons to help trigger, including the use of a primary weapon with osmosis and a destabilizing rounds corrective measure to help push things along. Again, though, I think the timing window still feels kind of weird. I feel like I should have more stacks of Harbingers than I actually end up getting after killing a few enemies. And particle reconstruction is also helping out in a big way.
Yeah.
When it comes to single target against a champion or something like that, something beefy, with Void Surge active, it can outright kill or severely harm to finisher range most champions, depending on difficulty. But you know what also does well?
Keyword, depending. If you're doing a basic ass Lost Sector, or like I don't know if this is just Legend or if this is Master. Yeah, again, I don't know why you're trying to build into a exotic to get its perk activated to deal with a champion when you can just kill it.
Against a champion, just shooting Telesto a couple more times without needing to get maximum Harbinger stacks and then special reloading.
Yeah, there it is.
In a non-single target environment, maybe you want to drop a shot in the middle of a crowd or something like that, it does okay. It does try to lock onto targets here and there, but it does feel like it just kind of sprays.
It doesn't last. It doesn't do enough. It doesn't last nearly as long. Like, you put so much work to build it up, and you get like a little payoff
everywhere, which creates these very hit or miss moments. Although the lower the difficulty, the more times you're gonna get things to hit, because things will actually die to the shots. I would prefer to use this thing in more single target scenarios as opposed to any kind of an AoE situation.
in a public sector.
I think the buff is very novel. I think it's a fun idea for the weapon, and shockingly, this new edition didn't actually break the weapon, which feels like a first. If there is a time to use Telesto, I would think that it's now. With all the void stuff in the artifact and particle reconstruction, it's also working with Unstoppable. After that's all gone, I would want to reevaluate, but I would be skeptical of its performance after the artifact leaves.
Yep.
Wardcliff Coil also got a slight buff where you give bolt charge to nearby allies for every other rocket that fires. Wardcliff is another one of those weapons where it's either the best option or just kind of terrible. So
Wardcliff is great when you're going against bosses that are coded as vehicles, because it does more damage, which is really weird because it doesn't say, I don't think it even says anything. Like, it has built-in deconstruct or decon. Yeah, it has built-in where it does bonus damage to vehicles, which is crazy that they still, maybe it's on the perk, maybe I just didn't notice it, but it literally does more damage, and it has been that way since day one it existed. It just does more damage. So unless you're going against a boss that's counted as a vehicle, and you are able to blow your load in every hit, like every Wardcliff coil could hit. Like, this was the Gallahorn for Destiny 2 before we had Gallahorn. It was the Gallahorn at home, and everyone was jazzed up about it when it was released. Like, oh my God, this is Gallahorn, but Arc. And then people found out that this is ass. Like, it's had its moment in history where it's shined, like Datto says, where it's really high highs, but it's mostly been very low lows. There's those moments where you're like, yes, we can cheese it, we can use it, and then Bungie's like, we don't like that, and then they nerf the damage that this gun does. In fact, it currently, if you don't never known this, Wardcliff has right now has a nerf on it. It does less damage than like your base legendary rocket launcher. Like, there's a handicap that it does against bosses. Like, for some reason, they coded this gun to do less damage to bosses than other rockets, and it doesn't make sense. I think we're at the point where they should let us go balls to the wall, but that's me.
While this is a nice bonus, I'm guessing this is not going to do a ton for the weapon's popularity. Finally, I leave glaives until the end because I know only a very small amount of people actually play with them. First up, the previously class-exclusive exotic glaives are now no longer class-exclusive.
Which is great. And I did not realize that they just gave jolting feedback, destabilizing rounds, and incandescent. Oh my God. Okay, so I actually want to try the destabilizing round version. Actually, I take that back. I think jolting feedback sounds really juiced. Because that one's like a free you could use a glaive for overload. And with my sword flash counter build, you could pair the hunter glaive in the exotic slot easy because you're using a flash counter heavy. So for dealing with like champions and doing extra damage, and then slap on Praetus for DPS, like you can make it work. I would be very interested. Maybe I should do that for the next GM.
Next, the special shot is no longer tied to glaive energy and is now based on hits with the glaive, both melee and ranged, where you need 6 in order to activate their exclusive effects. Hunter now gets jolting feedback on theirs, Titan gets destabilizing rounds, and Warlock gets incandescent and a heal pulse. Next, Vexcalibur got a big set of buffs. Triggering Perpetual Loophole now fills your glaive energy.
I've heard, if there was a glaive to ever use, I've heard a lot of good things about Vexcalibur.
Slightly increased overshield generation when guarding, increased secret damage bonus versus Vex enemies to...
I don't understand why it has to be a secret when Wish Enter Malfeasance just says it does more damage to Taken. Like, why does it have to be secret? It's the secret damage. Okay.
25% up from 10%, and it now briefly disorients non-boss Vex with a melee attack, making this thing very good against the Vex, which makes sense given where we got it from. These buffs feel like they're for people actually using...
I know I'm going to say this, and it's going to be ironic because it's probably true. The reason why this thing has a secret Vex buff is probably something about lore and some other shit. Guys, we totally made this flavorable based on lore. Isn't that cool? You do self-damage with a shotgun because of lore. This does bonus. It's a secret that it does bonus damage to the Vex because the Vex can't know about it because lore.
Glaives, and don't feel necessarily designed to get non-glavers onto glaives.
Yeah.
That being said, no bell in the artifact feels like a godsend to glaive enjoyers out there, and I have it on very good authority that Vexcalibur on Titan with the Banner of War aspect turns you into an unkillable murder machine with free overshields, free healing, insane damage resist with the blocking.
Do you know what does that too? My ultimate prismatic flash counter sword build. If you would like to check it out, the link to the video for all the different builds is down below. And you don't even have to like worry about getting a shield up. You just hold the sword. You just hold one button and it's infinite. 24/7 restoration and DR, baby.
And all the bonuses of Excalibur as well. On top of that, you have Hold the Line also in the artifact supporting you there too. It's one of those setups where if you don't know what you're doing with it, you're probably going to get crushed. Like, it's not just some copy-paste build that you do. But if you get some practice and lock in, you should just be crushing everything in sight, at least while the artifact is around. After that, we'll see. So those are your exotic weapon buffs for episode 3. Again,
yeah, I would say check the link will be down below for his video. I'm going a little long. I don't want to be too long. But I like to check out some of these videos that go through the weapons and the damages and stuff. Obviously, that's not really always what's going on here. But overall, I like reacting to them because I don't have time to sit there and test every little secret, like everything that changes in a season because I have a full-time job. So I let the dudes, the main dudes do that, and I'll react to it and give my insight and opinion on someone who isn't a full-time content creator, but is also a full-time Destiny player. Not always enjoyer, but definitely player. I have been enjoying this episode a lot more than previous episodes, though I do have some massive gripes. And that's saving that under lock and key for the video review. Overall, I am thinking that this should have been the start of how the year went off. Like Echo should have been like this, and it should have built up to a higher standard. But unfortunately, we're ending the year at a very medium high. And I think some of these exotic changes is pretty much an indicator of how this episode has been, where it's just they're either useless or they're medium highs outside of Queenbreaker. Queenbreaker was insane. And a lot of the other things are being padded by the artifact, where it gives the illusion that they're really good. But then I feel like anything that is good because of an artifact mod isn't actually good. If it can't be good alone without artifact mods, it's not good. And that's why I like to test things based off not using an artifact, because that's what matters. That's just my opinion. Hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel for more. As always, don't forget